Big E returned. So he fractured his C1 vertebrae and C6 vertebrae during the March 11, 2022 episode of SmackDown. The injury happened when Big E landed on his head while taking an overhead belly-to-belly suplex. Big E said he still does not have an update regarding a potential return to the ring. We don't, unfortunately. This is a quote. I appreciate everyone still asking. C1 is a tricky bone, and I broke it in 2 places, something called a Jefferson fracture. I'll speed through this. Essentially, I think WWE has almost left the ball in his court whether he wants to attempt a return or not, but this is the most important thing. Quote, I didn't get into wrestling to end up in a wheelchair or worse. I started wrestling when I was 23, and at 23, the idea of being 38, which is the age I'm at now, feels so far off the idea of what life in your 40s and 50s looks like and feels like an eternity from now. But now those are real things and consequences that I think about. It's one of those things. I've been an athlete my whole life, was playing tackle football at 7, but essentially he's been sensible and basically looking at the rest of his life and is the risk of refracturing
I think he's been out too long. I really do. And I think he's thinking about that. You know, his wife is, because if it could happen once, it could happen again. Now the neck is already, or the spine, what is it? C6?
C1 and C6.
Well, it's too big of a liability for him and his family for him to take that chance. I think if I was him, I'd just say, yeah, my wrestling days are over. And I just keep the job with WWE because they'll have him doing something.
Oh, yeah.
And
he'll be an ambassador or something. I mean, they'd never let him go, I don't think. So he's a great ambassador for them. But also, if he did come back and he's had that injury, that would surely affect his performance. I mean, you'd be second guessing a lot of stuff, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah. Every time somebody wants for him to take see, in wrestling, you got to take those hard bumps. People don't understand how tough a business wrestling really is. And I came along in the era, it wasn't big money. It wasn't big money, and you traveled like 6-7 days a week. You traveled. You hear my printer?
Yeah, I was just looking at your print.
Oh yeah, but
no, I can't hear it though. Carry on.
Oh, you can't hear it?
No.
But somebody was telling me, or did you tell me? You don't. Oh, you did tell me that you can't believe the travel that we did.
Yeah,
and you couldn't do it because you traveled from England
to Ireland,
just
which
over to Dublin. How far is that? An hour?
It's a 35-minute trip. But the problem is that you have to get there 2 hours beforehand, all the delays, and then you treat like crap, and then they look through your bag, and then your flight to Philly gets cancelled. So then you have to hang around the airport for another hour, and then you've got to hang about an hour for the transfers for the hotel. Then you've got to wait half an hour to get seen in because so many other people have had the flight cancelled. And it's just the standing around and waiting. Flying's exhausting. And the fact that I can't believe that you, and you know, if you're injured and you can't sit comfortably in your chair or you can't stand comfortably for 2 hours while you're in line to check your bag in.
I think one thing for a wrestler that's a hell of an existence. Say, we went to South Africa when I was in WWE. What if one of the guys, not me, what if one of the guys had gotten hurt and had to make that trip back? And I think it was from Pretoria or Johannesburg that we flew from all the way to New York. You know how long that trip is?
Probably like, what, 14?
17 and a half hours.
Oh.
It's almost a day you spend on a plane. And when you get off for the next day or two, you're all out of sync because that really messes with your metabolism. It throws it all off. But you don't have time to recover. Guess what? As soon as you get back to New York, you got to go to Raw, or you got to go to SmackDown, or you got to go somewhere. They're not going to let. And the most I've ever, and I've told you this before, to tell the people what a brutal business this was. I was in WCW, and they were running 7 days a week, double shows. Had 2 crews. One crew 7 days somewhere, and the other crew would go out to the Midwest. I worked during one period 64 straight days before I went home. 64. And finally, I told them, I said, guys, hell, I got to go. I can't do this. Oh, okay. Well, so he give me a day off, a day. But hey, that's what I signed on to do. So you can't go there and you want to work and then start bitching. But 64 straight days, that is a little ridiculous, I would think.
So your advice to Big E is, I mean, obviously we've just been talking about all that traveling. Stay home.
Oh, it's brutal, brutal. And now guys don't work anything near the schedule that wrestlers of before their time worked. And now most of them are flying. Hell, the closest we got to a plane was passing an airport. That's there's a plane. So yeah, we'd be in a car, 2 or 3 of us. But great stories. That's where I learned the business.